Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys all for joining this video. Today we're going to talk about the 9 main components you're going to need to build a great gaming PC. I've built dozens of PCs. Here's my last model so far, and I'm going to go through all the components you're going to need, and that's why I'm going to give you guys a few extra components that are going to make your setup a lot better. So the first component that I want to get into will be the CPU, the central processing unit. Pretty much that is the brains of the computer. What runs everything, what executes, the hardware, what does calculations, what makes everything work together. I'm going to give you guys a few options for CPUs: 7800X3D, 14900K. Those are really good ones. You should try them out. Okay, I'm kidding. They're a little too expensive, but 7800X3D is definitely good, and there's definitely a lot of good deals, but I'm going to make a video on that a little bit later. But yeah, CPU. Central processing unit is the #1 component you're going to need to build a great gaming PC. So you guys can see here's my PC, and over here is where the CPU is located. The CPU is going to be inside of that. You can't really see it because it has the cooler, and obviously you're going to need a cooler for the CPU in order to cool down. We're going to get a little bit into that a little bit later, but that's where the CPU is located in most PCs. Next thing I want to get into is the motherboard. The motherboard is pretty much the main circuit for everything. The motherboard is where everything is connected to. The motherboard is where the CPU is located, where the RAM is located, where everything is pretty much installed to for the whole entire PC to work. As well, it has ports in the back such as USB, HDMI, a lot of ports. So I'm going to show you guys what the motherboard looks like in about a second. But yeah, it's very important for every single PC. You do need it in order to connect everything and put everything together in order for it to work. So ladies and gentlemen, this is what the motherboard is. This part over here that I'm touching, pretty much where everything is connected to the GPU, goes into the motherboard. The CPU is in the motherboard, also the RAM right here. Everything goes connected. You see all those connections, the motherboard 24-pin, everything is connected to this big little square thing. You can also see at the bottom too, it goes all the way down there. So that's what the motherboard looks like. As well, every motherboard is different. They don't all look the same. Mine looks like that. Mine is an MSI one, but they all look different. But that's what a motherboard pretty much looks like, that big little square thing where everything is connected. Next thing we want to talk about here is going to be the RAM, random access memory. What is RAM? So RAM pretty much, it gives you better access to multitask more things. So there's, DDR4 RAM, DDR5, which is the latest generation. We have RAM that's 4000 speed. We have RAM that's 6000 speed. We have RAM that's CO30. We have RAM that's CO40. That's a whole lot of numbers. Don't worry about that. Just, you need it to build a computer. I will highly, highly recommend, if you're into gaming, get 32 gigs of RAM, and if possible, get DDR5. If not, get DDR4. It's okay to get DDR4, but the most important part will be getting a good CPU and a good GPU, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So this is the RAM right here, these 2 sticks. And usually most motherboards have 4 slots. And one thing you guys need to know about RAM, you either put them on the 2nd or 4th slot, or 1st or 3rd slot. They never go like 1 and 2. So I don't know why that is, not 100% sure, but that's how you do it. Either 1st or 3rd or 2nd and 4th. For the RAM, these 2 little sticks, that's what they are right there, connected to the motherboard as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the next one I really want to get into is storage. Storage is going to be very, very important because this is where you store everything. So the first one we're going to talk about is going to be the HDD or SSD, also known as the hard disk drive, HDD, which is just the traditional storage way of just storing things, and it's also a little bit slower. The next one that I actually want to talk about would be the SSD, which is solid state drive, which is just a lot better, a lot faster way to store everything, and it's just better. I highly recommend to get an SSD. Highly recommend to also get an Acer Predator SSD, which has the highest MB speeds. That's how you pronounce it, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, very important to have an SSD drive or a hard disk, whatever you want of the two. It's just they take up a lot of space, and they're also just a little bit older. Just get an SSD. And then as well, I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. It's very tiny. You can barely see it on the motherboard, but they're pretty cool. So see that little thing back there? That little, this kind of USB looking thing, that right there is on my motherboard. So pretty much my motherboard has a cover for the SSD. So if you take it off, you'll see the SSD, something very, very tiny, not very visible. I'll show you guys what it actually looks like in a second, because my motherboard actually has a cover. but it was located right there. It's on the motherboard as well. This is literally exactly what it looks like on the motherboard, and my little cover is over it, so that's pretty much exactly what an SSD is. Something very tiny like this. Next thing we want to get into is going to be the power supply, or the PSU, or the power supply unit, whatever you want to call it. It pretty much just, it says what the name says. It just supplies power to the computer, and then powers, you know, the motherboard, the RAM. It powers up pretty much everything in order for the computer to work. And yeah, it pretty much directly connects to the motherboard in order to get power to everything, because as you guys just seen throughout the video, everything is pretty much connected to the motherboard. So yeah, there's like a little 24 power pin connector, and you connect it from the PSU to the motherboard, and that's how it powers up. It has a little switch in the back. You turn on the switch and it turns on. I'm going to try to show you guys in a second, because the PSU is usually on the other side of the PC where the dirty stuff is and the cable is, so it's a little bit hard to see it. You can't really see it up in person. I'll show you guys also another thing. A lot of PCs have something called cable management, where you pretty much, you see how there's like a little hole right there that goes to the back. All the cables drag to the back, so that's why I say you can't really see the PSU in person, like in front of the PC. But here's where it's at, where all the dirty work is at. Here's the PSU, and it pretty much powers up everything. Here's where all the cables at. You tuck everything back here because it looks very, very, very ugly. But yeah, that's pretty much what the PSU is. And that little 24 pin connector right there, that's what you connect the PSU to the motherboard, so it pretty much powers up everything, and it looks lighty and glowy like this. That's the easiest explanation I can give you guys. Okay, the next thing we want to get into will be a graphics processing unit, also known as a GPU, also known as a graphics card. It's also what you need in order to run games at higher FPS, in order to run games at higher frames per second, as they say. Also, it's just to run games at, you know, 4K resolution, for it to look good. So that's what the graphics card is for. There's a lot of different graphics cards. There's graphics cards from NVIDIA, there's graphics cards from AMD. They both have different technologies that people enjoy. Some of them are better at pricing, at performance per dollar. Some of them are better at doing certain technologies, such as DLSS. Some of them are better with FSR. That's, you know, that's what they have. It's a very complicated thing, but I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like. Don't worry, but pretty much what it does is very easy. It just renders the graphics, it renders the game in order for it to look good. Well, depending on the graphics card, but I mean, most graphics cards these days will do the job. You can play at 1080p, and you can play at medium to high settings, or you have a good graphics card, so you can max them out. So any graphics cards these days will do the job. I'm not talking a really old one like a 1080 or 1050 Ti, or I'm not talking about anything old. I'm talking about, you know, a 3060 Ti will do the job. 7700 XT, 7800 XT could do the job for $300-400 bucks. There's good cards like that could definitely do the job. So a lot of graphics card out there. I'm gonna make a video on that later. It's very complicated, and a lot of things the graphics cards can do, but I'm gonna show you guys what the graphics card looks like. And remember, they all look different. They all have different brands. They all come with different types of fans. They're all a lot of graphics cards for you to pick from, a lot of models. We'll get into that in a different video, but I just want to get you guys with the basics, get you guys started, just to you guys know a little bit about PCs, and I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of my knowledge. And if you guys have any more questions, just do it in the comments. But as for now, I'm gonna show you guys what the GPU or graphics card looks like. I'll be there in a second. So here is my beautiful graphics card. It's an AMD Radeon 7900 XT Hellhound. That's the brand of it. It's got 3 cooling fans. It's a pretty nice size. I even need a little kind of like holder so it doesn't sag because it's so massive. But this is my graphics card as well. It is installed to the motherboard. As you guys see up there, it's installed to the motherboard. There's a few more slots right there, 1 and 2, for graphics cards. But you only need 1 graphics card. Don't worry about that. Only need 1 graphics card. You don't need multiple. But this is mine. This is what it looks like. And this is my baby right here. It's my favorite thing about my PC. Next component that we are going to want to get into will be a cooling system for the PC. Cooling system, such as we're going to need fans. We're going to need a CPU cooler. And yes, you do need cooling, you need fan, you need ventilation on your PC in order for it to cool down and maintain good temperatures. You're going to need a CPU cooler, you're going to need fans. The most important thing that I highly recommend you guys to do for your CPU cooler, get liquid cooling, get water cooling. Water cooling is a lot better. There's a lot of cheap options out there. You can get a really good cooler, you know, 40, 50 bucks. I got mine for about 50, 60 bucks if I'm not mistaken from Amazon, and it's a 360 water cooler. Like I said, I'm gonna show it to you. I'm gonna show it to you guys. Don't stress, relax. I'm gonna show you guys everything so you guys have an idea of everything. But yes, you do need a good cooler. It's very important for it to cool down your PC. I'll show you guys what it looks like in about a second. All right, you guys see this big hose right here? You guys see this thing here that goes straight into my CPU, and it goes all the way up here, and it's got 3 fans, and it's got, see that little thick thing right there? That's a radiator. It's got water in it, and it cools down my CPU. And all these other things here, all these fans, these are all regular Arctic fans. I got 2 fans at the bottom, 1 fan in the back for exhaust, and I got 3 fans on the side that actually came with my NZXT case. Highly recommended as well. Very good case. But yeah, this is the cooling for my PC. You do need cooling. You need your PC to maintain cool. You want to play games and not have to worry about your temperature. That is the best feeling in the world. I never have to look at my temperatures. My temperatures don't go past 70, even if I wanted to, any game I play, and that is the best feeling ever. Highly recommend. What is this? A thermal light. It's like 50 to 60 bucks on Amazon. It's literally like a 10 out of 10. Obviously, before anything, make sure that the cooler fits your PC. If not, go on pcpartpicker.com and then put your whole PC setup to make sure everything matches and never fails. Every single PC I've had, I build with them. But yeah, that's pretty much my cooler right there, my CPU cooler, and these are my regular fans that cool. That's pretty much my whole cooling system. It's very important. I can't stress it enough. Get a good cooler and get some decent fans. I'm pretty sure this one is common sense to a lot of you guys, but I still want to get over it because maybe a lot of you guys are probably beginners, and I want to make sure you guys just know as much as possible about PCs. Next thing I want to get into is going to be the case. You're obviously going to need a decent case. Doesn't really matter what case you get. There's just different types of cases. There's, you know, mini ATX, there's the mid tower case, there's medium case. Just pick out whatever size you want, and yeah, make sure you get whatever case. There's a lot of different styles. I got NZXT. I highly recommend it. It's really high quality, very dope case. Looks very slick. So yeah, need a good case. Obviously, don't need to show you guys what it looks like. I mean, it's a case. Everything goes on there. Everything's put on there, so it's pretty common sense. But like I said, maybe a lot of you guys are beginners, and I just want to go over pretty much everything so you guys just know every single little step, how to build a PC and exactly what components you need. Now I'm going to go over to the next component that you're going to need for your PC. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the next thing we want to talk about, it's part of the motherboard. So when you're going to pick out your motherboard, some motherboards have internet and some motherboards don't have internet. Some motherboards are only Ethernet, and some motherboards only have a small amount of USB ports and USB-C ports. So when you're going to pick out a motherboard, make sure it has, if you want Ethernet or if you want internet, if it has Bluetooth, if it doesn't have Bluetooth, is very important. And make sure it also has the right amount of USB and USB-C ports, which is all going to be located in the back. I'm going to show it to you guys in a second, but that's very crucial. When you get a PC and you're building one, you're just going to need a motherboard, or pretty much the component also known as internet, which if your motherboard doesn't have it, you can eventually plug it into your motherboard, but it's just better to get a motherboard with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. It's just going to make it a lot easier for you guys. But there's also a lot of good options of motherboards that are a little bit cheaper with only Ethernet. And for me, I use Ethernet. I don't really need to use internet, but I still got a motherboard with internet and Bluetooth just because why not? It makes it a lot better. It makes it a lot more, I guess, easier. But yeah, it's going to be very important when you pick out your motherboard and your motherboard has those components in there. Just be careful. This is just like a bonus in a way. If you want internet, if you don't want internet, if you want Bluetooth, if you don't want Bluetooth, if you want USB, how many ports do you need? But I'm going to show you guys kind of what it looks like. I'm guessing you guys already have an idea of what the back of a computer looks like, but I'm going to show it to you guys as well. So as you guys can see in the back of my PC, I have a lot of ports, you know, down there. I got here, over there. I don't use all of them, but I do have a lot of USBs connected into it. And here's my HDMI and display ports, and these actually go into your GPU. Make sure when you're building your PC and you connect it, your HDMI and display ports go directly into your GPU. They don't go into the motherboard, even though the motherboards does have HDMI ports as well. It has HDMI ports, but that's if you're just building a regular PC with no GPU and just a regular desktop. You can just connect it to the back of your motherboard. But just one very, very important thing to know as well. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and one of the last things that I want to go over would be an operating system, an OS. You can get Windows 10 or Windows 11. They're both very good. It doesn't really matter too much. Highly recommend just to get Windows 11 or Windows 11 Pro or Home. Just depends on what exactly you're doing with your PC. I just have regular Windows 11 Pro. You don't have to pay the $150 price mark for it. There's always cheaper website like Product G Keys, if I'm not mistaken. You might be able to get it for like 10, 12 bucks. I don't really know the exact link, but I'll look it up and I'll put it for you guys in the description, where I've gotten like the last 12 of my Windows 11 Pros, because I'm always building PCs for no reason, and I just love building PCs. But that's besides the point. Operating system, very important. Like I said, highly recommend Windows 11. And the next thing that I want to go over would be a good monitor. This is like a last thing, or like a last bonus. Make sure you get a good monitor. And the reason for getting a good monitor is, if you have a good setup, such as a good GPU and a good CPU, you don't want to have a 1080p 144 hertz monitor. I mean, I'm sorry, at that point you're just playing on console. If you want to have a good, decent monitor, at least get like 1440p monitor with 180 to 200 hertz, maybe 240 hertz would be a lot better, so you can actually push your PC to the max and actually enjoy your PC. Because it's like, let's just say you have a really nice car with a super nice engine, but the car can't really go fast because the wheels are about to fall off. So you can have a really powerful car, but if you don't have really good tires and the tires are about to fall off, then the car can't move to its max speed. That's pretty much the point I'm trying to get to. So make sure you get a really good monitor. That's it for the video, guys. Thanks for joining me. These are, I think I said about 9 components at the beginning of the video, but I added a few more. Went over the basics. I'm gonna make a few more videos in the future about what good CPUs you can get for budget price, what good GPUs you can get for budget price. I can talk about RAM, motherboard. Like I said, I've built a lot of PCs. Have you guys seen in my channel, on a lot of my shorts, I built PCs. I'm always doing PC stuff. But yeah, I just want to go over the basics for mainly beginners, so you guys don't have to go through the struggle that I went through and have to look through every single video on YouTube. I mean, this is just one video. You watch the whole thing, and this is just pretty much a very nice and simple beginner's guide about absolutely everything you need for a PC. If you guys want recommendations, I mean, go in the comments and type it out and I can help you guys out. But yeah, thank you guys all so much for watching. Thank you for joining this very special video. I hope you have a great night and take care of yourselves.